How do you draw the kind of emotions that you're looking for out of your subjects?
I'd have to say spend a little time with them, kind of like what we did prior to this, just to get to know where they are in their life at that time. I think just getting down to personal stuff about asking about kids and families and really trying to find out what emotions move that person really helps out with image making, because then that relationship with you and the photographer basically becomes an open space. They trust you, because if they don't trust you, they're not going to give you, one, the time, and two, the image that you need, and you have to build that trust. So,
what would people be surprised to know about you as a photographer?
I used to be a male model.
I saw that.
Yeah. I was very fortunate and blessed once again to move to Paris at the age of 17 to start a modeling career. During those wonderful days of teens and 20s, wild times, I was able to travel the world: Paris, Milan, New York, Tokyo. I worked with photographers like Bruce Weber, Herb Ritz, those type of people. So being around that as a young man and being exposed to that also made my photography what it is today, besides working at it myself, but really watching those icons of the business and being involved with those type of photographers was really quite an amazing experience for me that I bring to my work today.
Awesome. So that experience on the other side of the camera obviously carried over, so you have more empathy as far as your subjects. Yes.
I think it's, from being on the other side and watching how the other photographers work with me and knowing that, a lot of times in the modeling world, it's a fantasy world. We're portraying whatever, you're wearing some trench coat in the middle of nowhere running away from an airplane, What does that mean? But it happens all the time, and that's what I always loved about fashion. It was such a fantasy, it's like, here you are and you're just in a crazy situation, and it's all about just that piece of clothing. So that fantasy is something I think today, as I bring into my photography, which is kind of nice too, you try to portray that as well, because even though it might be a straightforward photograph of, say, a headshot of a CEO, why not try a little fantasy? Why not try something a little different with him that you might not even have thought of doing, if in fact you have that 30 seconds to just move that face that way or his head that way? Because something may happen, something beautiful might come out of it. And I think if you just get stuck in, here's my headshot, I think bottom line, what happens with that is that's what you got. It's just a headshot rather than a real beautiful portrait.
So you're having a lot of fun.
Great time.
On that point, what would you say your absolute favorite aspect of photography is?
The travel and the meeting of people, the situations that I can figure out. I think one thing that blows my mind constantly is I'll get a call and I'll have to drive down to, say, Pebble Beach, and who knows if it's going to rain, snow, whatever's going to happen. You need to shoot this person at this location at this time for 20 minutes. And I think what's the exciting part of it is, one, you get to drive down the freeway and you're looking at all the beautiful landscape and the winery, the beaches, the oceans, and checking out all the different stuff and being jacked up about what's going to happen soon. But at the same time, being able to also pull over on the side of the road and take some photos of things that you're not even being called to do, but just to constantly keep that visual element going. And what's surprising is, as you drive and as you are thinking about, say, that moment, I think that process of, say, an hour, whatever that takes you to get there, you're seeing things that you might not, really realize until you actually get to that location. And by taking that time to get there, I think those elements come into that photograph. It's kind of strange how that works, but I think once you arrive and you're seeing like a farming landscape, all this thing, and then there's like this kind of moment where you're with that person and maybe just their body, the way it kind of sits, or it has that kind of landscapey feel to it, because that's what's been going on in your mind for the last hour. So I think that would be the most exciting to me thing for me as a photographer, is just meeting the people, going to all these great locations, and also being surprised, with what's going to happen, because there is a surprise element. And don't be scared, just be surprised. Because if it does start raining, make it happen. Shoot them in the rain. That's part of it. And if your camera gets a little wet, it gets a little wet. Go, go, go.
Awesome. Jack, thanks for joining us on Advancing Your Photography.
Thank you.
Really awesome.
Sure.
Be sure to subscribe to our blog now to stay updated on my show, and we'll give you tips and insight to keep advancing your photography. Also, check out our guests' website for a closer look at their work. Tune in to our next episode of Advancing Your Photography for an inside look at another photographer's world. Until then, this is Marc Silber reminding you to get out and capture your own images of life.